Well, on the ugly subject of adults doing things they're not supposed to be doing with underage people, I guess we go to the Facebook decision, which just came out of the Supreme Court of Texas. Was it the appeals level? It was the
No,
appeals
Supreme
level.
Court. A
Supreme
lot
Court.
of the appeals courts in Texas are not that great. The Texas Supreme Court, though, is generally a very constitutionally oriented court.
There were 3 judges on the panel, right?
I thought there were more than that. Usually
Okay.
there's, I want to say 7.
Okay, no, but there was more than one. That's why I didn't
Oh,
know.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
why
yeah.
I presumed it was appeals. So for anybody who doesn't know, I think there's 3 or 4 plaintiffs suing Facebook for damages and other issues resulting from the fact that Facebook apparently, I don't know if it's knowingly or unknowingly, but was allowing profiles of people who basically got these young people involved in sexual exploitation.
Yeah, human trafficking,
Human
basically.
trafficking.
The allegation is that Facebook knowingly profited from human trafficking. And in fact, I think it's Eliza Blue, but some others have also pointed out that Facebook's one of the primary means of human trafficking around the world.
Well, and that is the issue. I guess it has to be knowingly because ththese individuals created profiles, friended the people.
Yeah, given the law that they enforced, knowingly is required.
Okay. Yep. And and it makes sense because they were basically saying that these profiles were catered to and tailored to trafficking, human trafficking. And so these 3 individuals or 4 individuals are suing Facebook. Facebook, sure as sugar, raises the Section 230 immunity defense. They move for a mandamus to enjoin the court to dismiss the lawsuit on Section 230. I think that was the procedure they went with. Bottom line, the Texas court said no go. The Section 230 does not create a lawless no man's land, and they're going to get to move forward with their lawsuit. It's an interesting thing because look, we know what I think about Section 230. We know what we've discussed about Section 230. This seems like it was the very thing that Section 230 was intended to provide immunity for, to the extent that Facebook was doing its best to remove and eliminate unlawful content from its platform. So the issue here has to be that Facebook knowingly allowed it despite warnings, despite whatever. And I guess if they profited from it, that's some form of tacit recognition that they knew what was going on. And so the court basically said no. But does this simplify any lawsuit against a platform to say that just throw in the allegation that you knowingly did it to escape 230 dismissal?
The big part of the legal aspect of the ruling was they said Section 230 only immunizes social media for what other people do on their social media. It does not immunize what the big tech does itself. And so this goes to a range of claims that are out there, whether it's about censorship, whether it's about defamation, or whether it's about facilitation of human trafficking or other illicit conduct. And that was the key component. They said, look, Section 230 is solely about immunizing big tech, not being responsible for what other people do on their platforms. It was never about immunizing big tech for what big tech chooses to do on its platforms. And that has ramifications across the board.
Okay, well, I mean, and now the idea is they're allowed to proceed. Is there going to be an appeal of their dismissal of the mandamus? And why did they proceed by mandamus and not motion to dismiss? Is it a procedural thing in Texas?
Procedural in Texas. They don't have a right of interlocutory appeal in most cases in Texas. So the only means by which you can try to appeal prior to trial in Texas is by writ of mandate in most cases. That's not true in anti-SLAPP cases, but it's true in electronic media, some other cases, but it is in these cases. And so that's why it's a unique procedure to Texas. Usually very hard to get courts to pay attention to it because of how big this case was, the Texas Supreme Court stepped in and took it. And they still said that Facebook couldn't be sued for their negligence and a lot of other things, a lot of common law torts. But Texas has a specific statute that makes it illegal to knowingly traffic or profit from trafficking in human beings for certain illicit activities. And they said that statute is outside the control of Section 230. And that so they could appeal that to the U.S. Supreme Court on grounds that it's a federal law that's being interpreted and federal supremacy is at issue. But they would be ill-advised to pursue this fact pattern before that court.
And now, for anyone who's wondering, they're going to proceed to discovery, I presume, at this point, given the state of the file. what would be the incriminating information that they would be going after and hoping to discover in discovery coming from the Facebook side of things?
Oh, my guess is there's a lot of incriminating information because this is not new. I mean, this is why, Twitter's facing a comparable suit in California on this. They've been warned for more than a decade that this is happening. They've been told how it's happening by organizations that fight this. My guess is what you will find, some of it's alleged in the complaint, that they knew all about this and chose profits over protection. Private profits over protecting the public. Despite, as you note, the whole pretext of Section 230 was to stop this kind of trafficking from occurring and immunize them for doing so, from stopping the trafficking, not immunize them for profiting from it.
It is. I just saw someone said Barnes is the ultimate black pill, but you're not. Barnes is the no. But you realize that these institutions, I'm going to call them monopolies because they are monopolies for the field in which they're operating. They have this immunity and are exploiting of this immunity to continue profiting from what they know is happening on their platforms. I mean, I've that it's been happening on Twitter for the longest time. I had actually had no idea what was going on Twitter, and I call it a black pill or whatever. I discovered what was going on Twitter, to some extent openly. It was through Howard Stern and him talking about a specific issue that I said, there's no way that this is going on Twitter, and it is. And you have it going on Facebook. And at the same time, while they are profiting off of this, claiming immunity from it, they're acting as arbiters and doctors, banning people for other issues and then claiming the moral high ground as arbiters and doing what they're doing while doing it as if to somehow conceal what they know is going on. And it really is the disgusting thing that the people who are doing the worst things in the world always are the most vocal about the good things that they're doing. And don't anyone accuse me of hashtag confession through projection, because it doesn't work that way when I know that this is going on. This is what's going on with Zuckerberg and all of these guys who are pretending to be the saviors of humanity, preventing Trump from having an account because he's instigating violence, doing what they're doing and profiting from what they know is going on. It couldn't be more disgusting if it tried. It's beyond supervillainy, because even the supervillain, sort of rubs his hands and or her hands, if we want to be fair about it, and takes pride in their evil. These guys are like cloaking it in benevolence, and it's just over the top. So, I mean, it's great it gets to move forward. And the idea that you have to say it's great that these people get to pursue justice against perhaps the greatest evildoers in modern history, that they get to pursue it is the victory, is itself also something of a depressing thing to have to say. But you want to finish up on that one before we move on to another thing?
No, but here's the white pill part of it. Big tech is in trouble in the court of public opinion, and increasingly that's translating to the courts of law. I mean, they're facing an extraordinary number of antitrust claims, an extraordinary number of these kind of human trafficking involvement claims, facing claims of illicitly accessing biometric and private identity information in other jurisdictions, facing information that they stole and monetized kids' information against their parents' consent in other jurisdictions. I mean, there's a new suit filed almost every week somewhere in America by a sophisticated legal actor, bringing a legal claim that has above average chances of moving forward. And this is just one more case. And most importantly, it's a case that establishes a precedent of universal application in other contexts that says big tech is only immune for what other people do, not for what they do. And it's long overdue that they be held liable for what they do. I think they'll come to rue the day they decided to censor the president of the United States and the things that triggered in the court of public opinion.
Well, let me just see what this is. Don't give you, David. FFS, you like to dish, and therefore, okay, this might not be about me, because there is no one on earth who's gonna accuse me of being an entitled snowflake. Someone had asked in the chat, Robert, how does Facebook profit off of this?
A bunch of ways. I mean, people will be shocked by the details. So in my view, it was always a little problematic to allow people under 18 to have access to social media in certain respects. There were always issues with that. How would they get? And they promised they promised they wouldn't monetize their private and commodify their private information without parental consent. And they promised they wouldn't be victimized by traffickers. Both have occurred, and both have occurred in spades. And that raises serious concerns about the more people find out about big tech, the more they're going to be shocked by it. And I think that's why big tech is in much bigger. Big tech thinks because it's bought off a bunch of politicians in Washington and a bunch of lawyers and academics that they'll be immune forever. And they should be waking up to the fact that it's less and less and less and less every day. Major legislation going through Congress right now to break them up. Things like this can only help.
And just so everybody appreciates, and the person who asked that question, legitimate question, it's not like they're selling ads to the potato files. It's not like they're selling ads to the individuals. It's that they're gathering the data on underage people and then marketing that and targeting those underage individuals either for ads or just by having collected their data when they weren't supposed to. And we saw it with YouTube, and that's what led to the whole COPPA issue and the big fine. And they get slapped with a fine that represents a day's worth of profit, if that, when they've been illegally collecting data on minors. And this is what it lends itself to: other people exploiting the collection of that data in order to target and exploit. But that's how they made their money in the first place. And so it's not like they're selling ads to individuals who are like, who are running ads for trafficking. It's just that YouTube, Facebook, Google have collected the information on these minors illegally, by and large, and then have marketed that information in ways that end up harming the minors. So, I mean, it's more indirect, but it's equally culpable, especially when you know what happens when you do that which you were not supposed to do for the reasons for which you were not supposed to do it, those reasons being this.